Hey ladies, welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to be doing something a little different. This is going to be a full video on a proper acrylic soak off. So before we get into the tutorial, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and turn on the post notifications. That way you can get a notification every single time I post a video. I'm going to be posting back to back all of 2023. So stay tuned for that and come enjoy Manicured. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into the video. So as you can see, I started by pushing back my client's cuticles. I always say to start with this, whether you're doing a full set, a fill-in, a soak off, you're just always going to make sure that you are working with the entire nail. That way, everything is how it should be. So pushing back the cuticle just exposes that new growth, and make sure that, like I said, you are working with the entire nail. So now I'm going in with my coarse drill bit. I got this off of Amazon. I feel like you can, find so many drill bits on Amazon. But for the sake of removing gel polish, I always recommend that you use coarse just because it gets the polish off the best. And so you just want to start by going around the cuticle area of the acrylic nail with that drill bit, taking off the polish. You do not want to apply too much pressure though, ladies, because too much pressure or leaving the file in one spot for too long will cause friction, and that will definitely burn your client's nail. So you want to be careful with that. Just make sure that you are keeping the drill bit moving at all times, and make sure that your drill is not too high on speed. If your client is complaining about like a burning sensation or something hurting, definitely try turning your drill down, because 9 times out of 10 it is just the friction that is causing that burning sensation. So another tip, this is a major tip, that it's good to remember that when doing an acrylic soak off, the less that is on the nail, the better the soak off will go. So what I mean by that is, you never want to start soaking your client's nails off with gel polish on or too much acrylic. File it down to the bare minimum, no polish, no length, none of that. So as you can see, I just poured in the 100% acetone, and if you are wanting to know where I got these little buckets from, they are off of Amazon. They're super convenient, super cheap. I definitely recommend. They just make everything so much easier and cleaner. So here I'm taking a cuticle pusher, and I'm just scraping off all of the excess acrylic. As you can see, it's very crumbly, and it's just coming right off. This is how it should look after soak offs. Nothing more, nothing less. If you're doing a foreign soak off, meaning someone came to you for a soak off from another nail tech or a nail salon, whatever the case may be, if the acrylic is giving more of like a slimy look, then most of the time that means that they have illegal acrylic on their nails, which I'm sure they were not aware of. That's normally how it works. But that's just something to remember, that if the acrylic does not look like crumbly as it does here in the video, then something is off with the acrylic. So that's just food for thought, I guess. So I like to recommend that in between each soak, as you've seen, she just took her hands out. We're going to scrape off as much as acrylic as we can, and then I am going to go in with my file and file off as much as I can. Now again, since we're getting closer and closer to the natural nail, you do not want to use too much force, or any force at all for that matter. You don't want this drill to be on too high of a speed, and you do not want to leave it in one spot. Constantly keep that drill moving, lightly running it across the nail. And if for some reason you feel like your client still has some acrylic on the nail, because it can be hard, the less and less acrylic that comes off, the harder it gets to be able to tell if there's still acrylic on. You just simply dip your client's hand back in the acetone for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, have them pull it back out, and just repeat the steps until there's no acrylic left. And after putting them back in the acetone, you will for sure be able to see if there's pulling them out, you'll be able to see if there's still acrylic on them. And so, like I said, you just want to repeat those steps until your client's nails are completely bare and free of acrylic. And that is super, super important to make sure that there's no acrylic, because when you go to do the full set, it will definitely hinder the bonding and the retention. And that is because clearly, it's not on the bare nail. There is something, kind of creating a barrier between the nail and the nail tip, or the acrylic, whatever the case may be, wherever the old acrylic happens to be. So you just want to make sure that they are nice and free of all acrylic. So as you can see, I'm going back in here, and I had her soak her hands for a few more minutes, maybe just about between 2 to 3, maybe 3 to 5 minutes, just to give any extra acrylic time to really soak off and break down. And eventually it'll become so small of amount of acrylic left that you might not even have to have them put their hands back in the acetone. I always have my clients do it just to double check. Once I'm almost 100% sure that there's no more acrylic, I have her put her hand back in just for a hot second, to make sure. And by the way, on the other hand, if you're wondering about the peppermint nail and why that looks like that, or why that is still on the finger, this is my mom, and her fingernail, her real nail, actually broke on that hand. So it's literally hanging on by a thread, you guys. So we had to do, a doctor manicured on that finger, which I didn't show that only because there was so much that went into it, and I just wanted this to be, a really detailed tutorial focusing on the soak off and not necessarily what to do with a broken nail. So we did go ahead and do everything we needed to do with that, soaked it off, cleaned it up, got it all, nice and together, and wrapped it up. So that's something you probably won't see, but just in case you're wondering, I just wanted to, throw that in there, why the polish was still on that one, or why the acrylic was still on that one, whatever. So here my client has no more acrylic on her nail, and I'm just going in and doing a manicure. We're going to take a little break from the acrylic, so I always recommend just leaving with a nice manicure, in between sets. So I'm going to go ahead and clip off the edges and file all of the nails down to be the same or close to the same length and shape. And this is really important, really nice, especially when going back in with the full set, because you want to make sure that your client's nails aren't, long in any way. They're clipped down, they're filed, they're nice and manicured, whether you're doing a full set or not. But especially if you're doing a full set, because if you were to go into the full set with your client still having, long nails, you didn't clip them down, you didn't file them, those nails are going to continue to grow out right back, how they were already growing out. So say for instance, if I wouldn't have clipped these nails down and her nails were long and I put the tip on, they're going to keep growing. And that means they may grow outside of the nail tip, or, long story short, that set is not going to last as long as it should. So filing the nails down and having them, nice and short and manicured will definitely help with retention and help that set last as long as it should, or at least help. So this is how the nails look after all the filing. I did go ahead and buff them and soak them in cuticle oil, and this is the finished result before we went in with the polish. So I hope you all enjoyed this little short tutorial. Make sure to comment down below any other videos that you want to see, or with any questions that you guys have. I'm always more than happy to answer them for you. So I hope you ladies enjoyed the video, and comment, like, and subscribe. Until next time.